Welcome back, everybody. It is the Awesemo.com Nhl Dfs strategy show. We've got a big slate, tons of money to be made. Today is the last day of NBA All-Star break, and then we'll hopefully go back to a nice contest, but it's not going to get any better than today. We got 100K up top. We got a couple 50Ks as well. We got a 25K, I think, on FanDuel. And also got another site to talk about, which we'll get to in a minute. I'm Jay Kari. I'm joined by Josh Harris. How's it going, Josh? How's the All-Star break been for you?
It's actually been pretty good. I've cashed multiple slates, which is better than I could say for my previous weeks. But this is the most important slate of the year outside if you qualify for the live final. So hopefully we can get you all some winners tonight and you guys can win some money. It'll be great.
Yeah, hopefully. Really quick, if anybody's watching the show and they would like to get in the Spinorama on DK, it's almost filled. So, if you're planning on taking a stab at 100K, you're going to want to reserve. I think they're also filling up on FanDuel. So just getting that out of the way. I've had it before where I forget to enter contests, go to enter them, or think I already reserved, and then you're stuck playing with nothing. There's a lot of NBA sharks looking to get in on the big money today. So I see a couple of them in chat. Petty in chat, he's already ready to play tonight, but no Minnesota Wild for him this afternoon. There's just a lot of NBA players playing. So those guys are filling it up quick, and it's good to see before they go back to NBA tomorrow. Seeing a bunch of people with some nice messages in chat. Hofbrau says he purchased an Adam Henrique jersey after last night, as he should. He had another big night. Fun to see. Some people tilting in chat. Some people saying I was doing my hair. Got to look right for the big crowd coming here.
Yeah, you do have good hair, let's be honest.
Well, it's a little bit shorter than I would like it right now. So there's not really much to do. Kings Ducks game went nuclear yesterday. Yeah, I got that dead wrong. So just real quick, we'll talk about my night. It was very bad. Started off bad, got a little bit worse. So I got back about 25%. Woke up, saw the 6-5 score in the Kings Ducks, and I knew exactly why I didn't have a good night. They were one of the chalkier games in terms of filler stacks, the top 6 on both sides. So sometimes you miss. I would like to not do that tonight, and this is a pretty good night to run hot. So if you've had a tough season so far, or if you've had a good season so far, this would be a good night to be locked in and make sure you feel really good about your lineups. It is a pretty good slate. What are your initial thoughts here, Josh? 8 games we got.
Yeah, this is a pretty good MME slate. So if you have multiple entries up top in that 360, I think you can differentiate yourself pretty good. So I only have one ticket, so I'm firing a single bullet. So I'm going to have to make some tough fades, but my first impression of the slate is I like it.
Yeah, I think, and we'll talk about plays. I always feel a little bit better after me and you, or me and Cliffy, or me and Terry break it down, or you and Cliffy, I guess. There's 4 different combos. So I always feel a little bit better towards the end of the show. Once we talk through everything and I get to bounce my ideas off of you guys. I've got 7 tickets in the spin. I'm not maxing or anything ridiculous like that. I'm not a big money baller like some of these guys, like Hoff and some of the NBA sharks. But so I've got a few chances at it. Probably just going to diversify like I normally would. I don't think I'm going to go all in on a line, but you never know. Might be scrambling at lock and just have to paste something into the CSV because that's happened to me a couple times with some of these some of this late news. And we've got, 6 games out of the 8 that start right at 7 Eastern. So if you get a couple late changes, it could be a big scramble here, but potentially a big edge. Talked a little bit yesterday about our brand new sponsor, Jock Market, which has turned daily fantasy sports into a stock exchange. So if anybody didn't see the show yesterday, Jock Market allows you to buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money with guaranteed payouts for all shares at the end of each night. So with daily markets for each of NBA, NHL, and PGA, you can win real money every hour, every minute, and every second of any match or game. So if you use the pregame IPO to pick up shares of your favorite players, then you can buy more, sell, or hold during the game based on your analysis. You can download the app to get started and use our exclusive Awesemo promo code. This is very important. If you didn't listen to anything I just said the last 30 seconds, you're going to want to listen to this. Awesemo NHL 50 will get you a $50 bonus on your first deposit. Awesemo NHL 50 is an exclusive offer for only the Awesemo community, and it expires this Saturday. So you've only got a few more days to use it. Might as well get over to Jock Market today. Let's talk about the games. Oh, there we go. I was waiting for that one, Tyler. All right, so there's the little stock sound. Impeccably produced show, this Awesemo NHL DFS strategy show. All right, let's talk about it. Boston and the New York Islanders, our lowest implied total game of the slate. We've got a 2.8 implied total for the Bruins, 2.6 for the Isles. Yaroslav Halak, and we're expecting it to be Varlamov for the Islanders. Could be Ilya Sorokin, but we think it's going to be Varlamov. No real changes on the Islanders side. On the Bruins side, they are healthy scratching Jake DeBrusk, which is normally a top 6 player. I didn't really see anything besides one quote from the coach that just said, we're not seeing the effort or something along those lines, which, I mean, okay, he knows the guys better than we do, but it's going to be Jack Studnicka that's going to go up onto DeBrusk's line with Krejci and Nick Ritchie. The perfection line is intact for Boston, that being Boston 1. What are you liking in this one right off the bat? We're not seeing much ownership to either side because of the low implied totals.
Yeah, I mean, this game is more of like an MME game, not a 1-3 or even like 5-10. Like if it was 5-10, I might get to it a little bit. But the first thing you notice about this game is that the Islanders are home, so they normally send out their top line, Barzal, Lee, and Eberle, not against the top competition. So they are going to avoid the Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak line. They're probably most likely going to get the David Krejci line, which is probably like the best matchup they can get when going against Boston. Still, this is going to be a very defensive game. Both teams are pretty sound defensively. The Islanders don't take many penalties. The Bruins don't take many penalties. So if I'm going to go to the Islanders, it's going to be this top line just because, I mean, every time we're on together, the Islanders are playing, we're both usually on the same page. We really like the Islanders top line just because they're fully chlorinated on the power play. They're not overly expensive. They avoid the top competition at home. But this is like, they're not going to be a priority for me, and neither is going to be Boston 1, just because they're going to get the Brock Nelson line. And, you know, Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey, Anthony Beauvillier aren't, you know, like huge household names, but you look at, they have a big sample together, 330 minutes, and their defensive numbers are pretty good. 9 high danger chances against per 60 and 1.88 expected goals against, which is above league average. And they're good defensively and they don't take many penalties. So Boston coming in over 24,000, they're probably going to get lost in the bunch a bit here, just because they're just their price on the road. Like if there's any time to fade Boston 1, it's going to be on the road against the Islanders. So for me, I'm probably going to be underweight on this game. The depth lines, like that Nelson line's going against Bergeron, so I don't want anything to do with Isles too. Like, so like if you want to go to JG Pajot with Wallstrom, they're going to get the Charlie Coyle, Craig Smith matchup, which is just not great either way. Like both of those lines are pretty sound defensively. So I don't really want to go to a third line in a game where there's bad matchups. So it's going to be the top lines, but in MME, so it's going to be underweight for me.
I like the top line for the Islanders. Almost always do. You mentioned all the reasons why. So that's the line I prefer. I was actually noticing, because of how cheap Isles 2 is, they were coming up in some of my crunches, but I think I'm going to end up limiting them just because of the matchup with Boston 1. That's maybe the worst matchup. I mean, if Boston 1 was at home, then that would probably be the worst matchup you could have in the NHL, maybe on the road. You know, they only need a goal and maybe something on the power play to get there. But I don't think it's a high probability spot for Isles 2. Boston 1, actually, I didn't notice getting to a lot of them either. My first crunch, I got to 0 of them. I think I should have more than 0 in the $10 tournament, like MME. Not a priority for me, though, for Boston 1, just because of the price, because of the tough matchup. The Isles are tough. The second line specifically is tough. If they get matched up some against Isles 1, that's not a good matchup either. But look, they're one of the best lines in the NHL. If you want to take some stabs at them at low ownership, certainly understand that. With no DeBrusk, I don't really love Boston 2, especially because they're going to go up against Isles 1 some, as will Boston 3. So I think I'm mostly off the Boston side and really focusing on Isles 1. Did you say they weren't a priority for you? Like, you don't think you'd have them in like 5 to 10 lineups even?
Maybe in 5 to 10, I'd take a stab or two, but in my 1 to 3, it's hard for me to get there. Even though they're at home, and it's like the best possible matchup against the Bruins because Krejci's just, I don't want to say over the hill, but he's definitely not the player he was before. So like they might be in consideration, but they probably won't make the cut.
Yeah, they're going to be in consideration for me. Like I mentioned, I've got like 7 like higher stakes lineups. I think I'll get to 1 or 2 of them in my 7 here, just because of how good they are. You like the full correlation, especially if no one's going to be on them, which it looks like they're very low in the ownership projections for today. Anyone on the blue line you want to mention? Grizzlock, 4,200. I know Seth's watching somewhere, but do you like anyone on the blue line, either side?
So if you want to play Grizzly, go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to. It's just not something I want to do as a one-off. Generally, I would play him if I'm fully correlating Boston 1. Now his price is up above 4,000. His peripherals aren't great, so I do not want to one-off him. If you are playing Islanders 1, Pulak is fine. Dobson is fine if you need the savings, but the defensemen in this game don't really interest me too much unless it's a correlation play.
We're not even through one game, and I'm already getting body bagged in the YouTube chat. The DFS Whisperer says, I wish we had some Lofty or Chris Spags type energy on the NHL show. Well, they're better hosts than me. So if you know anyone that knows NHL and can do what they do, feel free to point them our way. I mean, I'd be happy to hire someone with their kind of energy that knows NHL. So
it's the lowest total, there's not much to talk about. So we'll get to some of these better games. We'll light it up. Our personality is helpful.
We'll get some dogs barking in the background, I'm sure. Hopefully not in this next game. Well, maybe in this next game, but we're going to go to Buffalo and Philadelphia. 2.3 implied total for the Sabres. It is a 3.4 for the Flyers. Jonas Johansson and Carter Hart are your goalies. We've got a pretty expensive Philadelphia 1, and I think I would be heavy on them if they were playing closer to 20 minutes a night for these prices. Their minutes have kind of fallen off since the Flyers, like they were gone for a while. They missed a few games, had a few games canceled. A bunch of guys getting back from the COVID list. Now they look pretty deep. You got Giroux and Voracek on the third line with Lindblom. And so they're getting more even run between their top 9. Buffalo does not have Jack Eichel. He will be out for tonight, hurt his neck in the game a couple nights ago. It's going to be Dylan Cousins centering Taylor Hall and Sam Reinhart. Do you have any interest in the Buffalo side? And then feel free to take it to Philadelphia as well.
Yeah, I mean, that top line is super cheap, and they're fully correlated, but they're going to get the Couturier matchup. So that kind of takes me off of them. If you want to take a couple stabs in MME, that's certainly fine because they're definitely affordable. They're like 12-3 is a full line. So yeah, I guess like MME, it makes sense to take a couple stabs. It's not a very EV matchup, but again, if you're making 150, you can get there. And then on the Flyer side, I completely agree with you. The first thing I did when I saw Eichel was out and Johan, whoever, you don't mess with
Jonas Johansson.
Yeah, you don't mess with the Jonas Johansson. But the first thing I did, I was like, oh man, I'm all over this Flyers 1 because they're over 20,000. People are gonna be off them because of their price. And then you see, since last Sunday, they played 4 or 5 games, and they've been averaging 17 minutes.
Yeah,
and that's just a big problem. Like, I don't want to pay over 20,000 for 17 minutes. If they're getting 21, 22 like Couturier normally is, like, yeah, sign me up. But, like, it's hard to put them in for 17. Like, it's not like Montreal 1 where we say, oh, they get 16, 17 minutes. Their price is generally way better than 20,000. Mm-hmm. So, like, for 20,000, yeah, you can play them, but, like, you have to know that you're missing out on, 4 to 7, even 8, like, quality minutes here. They are fully correlated on the power play. They probably won't get much super high ownership just because price driven, but this is a good matchup. I think I would look into the depth a little bit for the Flyers. I don't think I'm going to be alone either, especially that third line, Lindblom, Giroux, Voracek. You get the Giroux, Voracek power play too. It's really kind of like a 1B type of deal. They don't see as much as the top unit, but AV likes to split his units up pretty good. So if you want to put in a Giroux, Voracek, Provorov, I think that is good. If you're trying to get in like a power play stack and you need some like a cheap 2-man, I don't mind Lindblom and Voracek if you can't fit Giroux. And even the second line's okay. I'm not a huge Lawton guy. Hayes, Konechny is fine. They are going to get, the Stahl matchup, but like Eric Stahl's game has dropped off tremendously since he came to Buffalo. So I don't mind the depth of the Flyers. And I wish like if Philly 1 was like 18-5 and not like 24 like they are, I'd be well over the field on Philly 1. Just it's a price thing for me, so I still might get to them, but for their minutes and the price, it's tough to get in one lineup.
Yeah, agree. I mean, and that's what's keeping the ownership low is that they don't project very well for their prices. So it's an event-based sport. They are big parts of the offense. You could easily see them going off here. They're all in the top power play. So there's definitely worse stacks to play. I'm going to end up at least making some. The way I make my lineups is I crunch out more than I need and then cut down from there, cut out the lower projected ones, cut out the ones that I think could potentially be duplicated in large field tournaments. And so Philadelphia 1, I don't know if they'll make the cut for me, honestly. If they do, I think it's going to be more like 5 to 7% in MME. And one thing with Philadelphia here is that this is not like the spot in Edmonton yesterday where if they were going to score like 5 or 6 goals, like exactly where it's coming from. They've got 3 lines that look very solid here. So their top 9 is very strong. You could see any of the top 3 lines going off against this Buffalo depth, especially with no Eichel. Not that he's some defensive juggernaut, but they're really weak defensively. So I like going with some of the cheaper guys, Hayes, Konechny, Lawton. I like
I'd punt here. I'd punt with Sanheim. I'd punt with Felipe Meyer. That's probably about it. If you have the space for Provorov, you can put him in. He's not someone that like I go out of my way to get in the lineup. He kind of fades out from time to time. And then he occasionally has that really big game at super low ownership, but it's hard to get him right.
Yeah, it looks like we froze up on YouTube there for just a second. So we'll wait for people to refresh their feeds. Just to point out, if anybody's not aware, we do have free NHL rankings for today. We had the top stacks unlocked yesterday. A lot of the good stuff is behind the paywall. We did unlock the rankings, so you're not going to be left out to dry if you're looking for free content for today. The rankings come with the NHL Weekly Express Pass, and that's $3.95 per week. We've also got an NHL Weekly that is $11.95 per week. Top stacks, ownership, everything. Projections actually as well. I just uploaded those before the show. So everything looks to be updated with the most accurate lines that we can find right now. 20-second panic attacks are good for you. Yeah, I mean, it's usually like 30-minute panic attacks for me. Actually, more like 22, 25 minutes on slates like this where we get a bunch of late news and there's a bunch of 7 p.m. Eastern starts and just heart rate pumping for 20, 25 minutes. I mean, you don't really MME that much, but like it is quite a rush to, flirt with not getting your lineups in. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that in the YouTube chat and the premium Slack.
I am me in other sports, but my secret is I'm always having a panic attack. So,
well, there you go. Yeah. So I mean, it just feels normal. Then you got nothing really to compare it to. All right, I think we got mostly everyone back. We're over 300 people in the chat, so good to see everybody joining. Welcome if you're an NBA person. If you want to check out the video that Alex and I did, we just talked about NHL basics. It's more of like a timeless piece, evergreen piece, some might say. We just talked about basic strategy, scoring, stacking, picking goalies, correlating, and then we talked about some lineup strategies as well. If you go to the Awesemo.com YouTube channel, which you're already on, just click our little icon up there. Subscribe to the channel while you're at it. You can check out that video. It's about 40 minutes long, so you can turn that on. If you're looking to dip your toes in the water for NHL, no better time than tonight when we got these massive contests. Let's go to the Devils and the Washington Capitals. 2.5 implied total for the Devils, 3.6 for the Caps. Scott Wedgwood, Vitek, Vanacek. Those are your goalies. Boy, it is ugly on the Devils side. It's kind of tripping me up right now. I'm seeing the Zajac line on top on our lineup builder. I wouldn't consider them the top line. I'd probably consider them the third line. So lines are a little bit mixed around. Zaka, Palmieri, that's probably your top line. Maybe Hughes, Andreas Janssen, and Jesper Bratt. But anyways, I think this one's going to be more about the Caps. 3.6 implied total here, just 2.5 for the Devils. What are you doing with Caps 1 tonight? One of the highest owned lines on the slate right now.
Yeah. Cliffy and I talked about Washington for a while on Sunday, and one of the things that we pointed out, or he pointed out, was Ovechkin plays the full 2 minutes on the power play. So if you want to get creative and put Ovechkin in with like a Kuznetsov and a Sprong, because he's going to, get that time with them on the power play, I think that is a good way to differentiate yourself. But I love the Capitals power play tonight. You can mix and match any way you want. You want to go to the full top line, that's fine. Ovechkin, Backstrom, Oshie, perfectly fine. If you want to add in Vrana, you can. I think the one thing, the two people that you have to staple in if you're going to Washington power play 1 is Ovechkin and Karlsson. I think those are your staples, and then you can just mix and match Backstrom, Oshie, Vrana in. Or if you just want to leave Ovechkin as your staple, kind of like how we do with Florida with Barkov, you put him in and you mix and match. You can do a Kuznetsov Sprong, an Eller Sprong, a Kuznetsov, something like that. Like just mix and match. But I'm all about the power play tonight. If you want to go to the top line, that's fine. If they see the Jack Hughes, Bratt, and Janssen line, that's not a great matchup 5-on-5.
Yeah.
But it is the Devils, and it is Wedgwood. And the thing is, like, the Devils' penalty kill is not great. Like, it's been bad. So you're going to get that full correlation on the power play. So really, it's all about the power play stacks for me on the Cap side. On the Devils side, like, in a limited amount of lineups, I'm never going to prioritize the Devils in a low total on the road. But I think in MME, if you're getting above 20 lineups, or even like sparingly in 20 lineups, you can play this Janssen, Hughes, Bratt line, especially if they are going against the Ovechkin line. They're decently priced. Like, they're not very expensive at all. They have good numbers together. The Ovechkin line isn't, world beaters defensive.
Oh, do we lose him, Tyler?
I don't mind.
All right. You're back. Kind of, you're back. I don't know. Your screen's still a little bit frozen, Josh, if you can hear me, but
I can hear you.
Okay. Your screen's just frozen. You're good.
Okay. So yeah, it's all about Caps 1. I don't mind getting the Caps 2 a little bit. They're gonna get, probably that Zajac line. So I keep it towards the power play. Am I frozen?
Yeah. You're good though.
You can hear me. No one needs to, see my.
It's not that embarrassing of a face, and now you just cut out again. So see if yeah.
I still can hear you.
Okay. See if you can maybe should he back out and then come back in? Yeah. Okay. Try that, Josh, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, let me back in and come back in.
Sounds good. I will pick it up for the rest of this game. Devils, Caps. Josh mentioned that he did like the Caps side. Obviously, I mean, yeah, you got to like him here. I was going to look at the ownership of this Washington too, but I don't really love it. It looks like they're one of the chalk fillers on the night. Kuznetsov with Vrana and Sprong. I know Kuznetsov kind of without Ovechkin has been much better at 5-on-5. So was looking forward to playing some of this line, but with the big total, with the $2,500 price tag on Sprong, you got power play time for all three of these guys. I probably won't get to a ton of Caps 2. And I'll just give the case for getting off of Caps 1. And that would just be that, first of all, they're not great at 5-on-5 so far this season. Ovechkin, his numbers usually aren't great at 5-on-5 anyways, but he's just such a good scorer. He can score from so far out. Such an amazing shot and awesome on the power play that it doesn't matter that much. Like, he's almost always in play, especially with the big total here. But the other thing is that New Jersey has only taken, they've only been shorthanded 63 times in 21 games, which is, 3 per game. And that's not super high. And so while they stink at killing penalties off, 65% penalty kill this season for the Devils. If they're not going to take penalties, they might be able to compete in this game. And I don't think that they're overmatched at 5-on-5. So there's your case to get off the Capitals. One, if you did want to. I don't think I'm going to end up getting off of them, but if they're going to come in as the highest owned line of the night, I think I will be a little bit below the field on this trio. That being said, if you did want to go to the onslaught here, because if the Devils take 4 or 5 penalties, it could be over pretty quickly, and you could see a Caps 5-man power play go completely nuts here. So, looks like Josh is back. You got anything else on Devils Caps?
Maybe on the blue line, like Orlov's been playing a little bit better at 2,500 power play too. If you need a cheap punt, but really, it's all about the power play guys for me.
Yeah. So while you were gone, I don't know what all you caught there, but I was just mentioning that the Caps 1 isn't great at 5-on-5. In fact, they're not even very good at 5-on-5. And so if the Devils can stay out of the penalty box, you might see Caps 1 struggle a bit here, but yeah, if they're taking penalties here, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So Carlson, 6,100, really good price for him. One of the highest owned defensemen on the slate, but I agree with it. I don't think you have to play him with Caps 1, although I would prefer to play him in some sort of Caps 1 or at the very least, like Caps 2 plus Carlson, and then Hughes, Bratt, and Andreas Janssen. I'm considering that either the first or the second line for the Devils. I have no problem going to them at low ownership on the other side in MME. Let's go to the Preds and the Hurricanes. 2.5 implied total for the Preds, 3.4 for the Canes. Pecorine, Alex Nedeljkovic. I think that's the first time I've ever gotten that name out of my mouth correctly. It's going to be Aho with Brock McGinn and Warren Fogle. These three got put together late on Sunday afternoon. They kept Trocheck, Niederreiter, and Marty Netschus together. Stahl with Svechnikov and Jesper Fast. That line is probably going to get Nashville 1, and that's a pretty tough matchup for Nashville 1. So I'm seeing some ownership, double digits on Nashville 1. Are you looking to go elsewhere than them?
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of off Nashville 1 this season when it's been Forsberg, Johansson, Arvidsson. To me, they're a good classic rock album. You can get them in a good matchup, but this isn't a very good matchup. I'm going to be, as painful as it is, I'm probably going to be underweight on this game. I love the Niederreiter, Trocheck, Netschus line. They're going to get the Sissons, Cousins, Tolvanen line, which I don't know what to make of it. Like Tolvanen and Cousins have minutes together, but they haven't played with Sissons. But if you want to get to, Carolina 2 tonight, I think that's perfectly fine. I can't prioritize them. Carolina 1 without, like Svechnikov up there, Teuvo, Teravainen. It's hard for me to get to. Like their price is good, but Fogle and McGinn don't play in the power play. So I think that's an MME spot as well. And that Stahl line going against the Johansson line, I think it's okay. Like I just don't want to play Jordan Stahl in this matchup. If you want to, do a little bit of some power play stacking because it is Pecorine, I think that is certainly okay. But for me on the Carolina side, it would be, Carolina 2, and I'll be underweight on the top line and the third line. And then on the Nashville side, I'm going to be underweight on that top line, especially if they're getting ownership. It's not someone I want to. This line, I don't want to play at high ownership. If they're coming in at very low owned, the blah, blah, blah. I froze and now I can't speak. But if they came in at low ownership, they would be someone I consider. But at their ownership, I want to fade. And then the second line, Granlund is okay, but he's playing with Pitlick and Yarncroc. So for me, this is underweight, and this is an MME game for me.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to playing much of anything on the Nashville side. As always, this isn't a 15-game slate. This isn't a 14-game slate. So it's not like I'm just crossing out teams entirely. But I think it's a pretty good chance that I don't get to much Nashville at all. And I am perfectly fine with that. Carolina's an awesome 5-on-5 team. They're spread out. Like they're just going to carry play, I think, no matter which of their lines is out at 5-on-5. So assuming they don't take a bunch of penalties, I think they're going to do a good job of generating some offense here. Now, the problem is, which line do you want to play here, or do you just want to power play stack it? Oddly enough, you got two guys on the top power play. The only line where that's the case is the third line, the Stahl, Svechnikov, Jesper Fast line. I think that line's going to play a bunch. So if you are okay with having your guys split at even strength, you could go with 4 or 5-man Carolina power play, which I don't mind. But yeah, I do want to get in this Carolina 2 line. It feels like I'm always on them. Their numbers are very good. They get secondary power play time for Niederreiter and Marty Netchus, and then Trocheck on the top unit. So it, like, kind of everything checks out, but then it feels like I always forget about them. They don't quite project as high on the value scale as some of these other lines in other games. So I feel like I forget about them a lot. But at this ownership, I'm going to try to force in some Carolina 2. You mentioned Carolina 1 is more of an MME play. Yeah, I don't see them being a priority, even though I would think Aho is probably a priority for a lot of people tonight. McGinn and Fogle, not amazing. They don't get power play time. And then Dougie Hamilton's expensive, $6,800. I mean, would you rather have Dougie or Roman Josi? We've got them projected very close, both going to play big minutes, both going to play top power play. But I think it's pretty much a toss-up for $200 difference here.
Yeah, I mean, they're both pretty expensive. And then you have John Carlson at $6,100, which makes Carlson the better play. But I think I'd lean Dougie in this matchup, just like him a bit more. I know that breaks your heart because you're a big Yossi guy, but for me, it's Dougie tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking at my exposures right now. I do have a little bit more Dougie. I do have a little bit more Yossi. They're similarly owned. Yeah. I'll have my fair share of both of those guys. So I've been, I'm not really doing the testosterone approach as much this season and just like slamming 1 or 2 top defensemen and then filling in the rest of my lineup. I've been kind of spreading it around, getting more exposure to these high upside guys that are at lower ownership. And so of some of Yossi and Dougie, as well as some of the other pay up defensemen. Ekholm, 5,300. Is that a guy you're targeting, or a little bit too expensive these days? No Ellis.
Yeah, I mean, that price is getting a little up there for me. This isn't the best matchup. So, I mean, at 5,300, I'd find the other 800 to get to Carlson. I think it's just a big jump there. I know I'm going to get like killed by the Ekholm stands, but like he's a great player, but I'm not paying 5,300 for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was fun for a couple days there when he was like 3,800 and playing 20 minutes and getting the shot bonus and blocks bonus every game. But a little bit different story at 5,300, no power play time. Our boy Clayton says, if a team gives up a lot of penalties but has a good penalty kill, do you still target the power play against them? Let me reread that. The team gives up a lot of penalties but has a good penalty kill. Do you target the power play against them? Okay. I understand what he's saying. Do you want to answer that, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I mean, like it depends. Like, so if it's a good penalty kill, a good goalie, I take it into consideration because you get a team like on the opposite side, you get a team like Montreal, just terrible penalty kill. Yeah. You want to load against them, but like if it's like a super good penalty kill, but they're close up to the league lead in taking penalties, I'll still take some stabs just because you're not going to have a 100% kill rate for the whole season. So they could pot a couple here and there. So it's definitely like not something I'd go out of my way to do in 1 and 3 lineups. But if you are MMEing, it's something that I wouldn't shy away from.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I just want the opportunities. So like if my guys all play in the power play together and they're going up against a team that gives up a lot of penalties, but they kill it at an 85% rate, like whatever, just, maybe you get an extra 1 or 2 power plays. And then their average doesn't have to be amazing for them to get there on the power play. And, I mean, it's only 25 or 30% of goals come from the power play. So you're going to need them to do something at 5-on-5 anyways. The power play is more of just a bonus. Unless you're talking about like Colorado 1 when they're priced up to 24K or Boston 1. like then you're really going to need them to get it done on the power play most likely. So in general, yeah, just give me the opportunities, and we're trying to run good anyways. So you hope you can pot a couple, like you said. Let's see where we're at. We're about halfway through, so we'll get out of here in about 20 minutes or so. If you guys haven't just yet, hit the notification bell. That's the best way you can help support us. And then if you look above me and to my right, you can see our promo code for Jock Market, Awesemo NHL 50. That is a $50 deposit bonus. No other site in the industry is currently doing anything like that. So go support Jock Market. It says the stock market has officially met fantasy sports. It's a pretty cool site. I'm looking forward to playing over there a little bit more. And so I'll be taking advantage of the Awesemo NHL 50 promo code. Again, $50 deposit bonus. No one else is doing that in the industry. Let's go to Florida and Columbus. 2.9 implied total for the Panthers, 2.6 for the Jackets. Bobrovsky and Korpisalo are your goalies. Big news here is that Frank Vatrano is no longer on the top line. Well, I should say he's not going to start there. Who knows? He could end up there. So he's not with Barkov. It's going to be Mason Marchment for 2,600 playing power play 2 with Barkov and Carter Verhaeghe. Huberdeau with he who shall not be named, Alex Wenberg. I'll name him for the new people. And then Patrick Hornquist. So I'm going to be probably doing what I usually do with Florida, which is just play Barkov with the other forwards not named Wenberg. How are you attacking this game? Do you have any interest in the Blue Jackets' new look top line, Roslovic, Laine, and Bjorkstrand?
Yeah, so I'll touch on Bjorkstrand first. Top line, 3,800. I think he's going to be a popular one-off, and I think very popular in cash builds tonight. And they're going to avoid the Barkov line, so I don't mind that Columbus top line. So, but other than that, like it's more about Florida and Florida Panther or power play for me. So, like the Barkov line has been really good this season, and the staples have been Barkov and Verhaeghe. There's been Duclair up there. There's been Vatrano up there. And now there's Mason Marchment up there. But like the cogs have been Barkov and Verhaeghe. They've been very good defensively. As long as those two are together, that line is very good. Mason Marchment could be a nice player. I don't know too much about him. He's 2,600, does get secondary power play time. And they're going to get the Boone Jenner, Atkinson, Foligno line, which isn't anything to write home about defensively. So if you want to get to Florida 1, it's more affordable with Mason Marchment up there at 2,600. I think you can do that in MME. But I do agree with you about the power play. I kind of just get Barkov in there, and then I'll play him with a Huberdeau Hornquist. I'll play him with Huberdeau and a defenseman, either Yandel or Ekblad, or just full power play stack. I think, at 5-on-5, Jones and Werenski have kind of started to figure it out, although defensively they're just absolutely awful earlier this year. So they can only go up. So I'm more targeting the power play stacks than full line stacks. So I don't mind, doing Florida 2 and just replacing Wenberg with Barkov. I know it's a huge price difference, but a lot of people have been doing it. You've been doing it. Some of your best lineups this season have been the Florida power play stacks. So their power play has been excellent this year. So Florida power play, Florida 1. I don't mind getting to some Columbus 1 in MME, kind of off the Jenner line because of the Barkov matchup. And then if you really need a cheap filler, I don't mind this third line. Like they're almost min price. They're like 7,800. They don't get power play time, but it's Eric Robinson, Texier, and Stenlund. Stenlund does get secondary power play time, but if you're trying to fit in Boston 1 in MME and you don't want to punt defenseman, I think you can do that against the depth of Florida, which is not very good, and Bobrovsky is not the best goalie.
No, he is certainly not the best goalie. In fact, he's been one of the worst goalies so far this season. Roslovic, Laine, Bjorkstrand, I just think they're going to be a little bit too popular for my liking. The Huberdeau Hornquist line started off pretty rough at 5-on-5. They've been much better offensively and defensively. So maybe we'll give my boy Wenberg, I should say. I don't want to, lump you into the Wenberg hate. But, they've been a little bit better at 5-on-5. I'm not sure what to think of Barkov with Marchment up there, but him and Verhaeghe have been very good at 5-on-5 this season. So I think you can go to Florida 1, full stack. I think you can go to Barkov, Huberdeau, Hornquist. I think I like that a little bit more with the power play. I mean, Blue Jackets not good at killing it off so far this season, but they take very few penalties. So they're going to have to be efficient with their, 2 to 3 opportunities, I think, at most. That's pretty much all you can ask for against Columbus. Pretty disciplined team. And then the Barkov line is probably going to get the Werenski-Jones pairing, which is not really optimal if you're looking to stack up Florida 1. So I thought I was going to be hammering Florida here, specifically the top line, but with Marchment up there, I'm a little bit uncertain. And so I'm going to be sticking to a lot of Barkov with Huberdeau and Hornquist, more of a power play stack here. You get exposure to both lines. I know they're probably not as highly correlated as you'd think, but they all do play PP1. And so you can add in Ekblad, you can add in Keith Yandel. I usually group out Yandel, so I only play him with Florida 1 stacks, especially when he's this cheap, because sometimes he'll pop in optimizers. We don't have him projected probably high enough to pop for people, but if you wanted to drop down to a different defenseman, Gudas or Gustav Forsling, although I don't know which one of those guys is going to play more. You probably consider the Nudavara Forsling pairing as the second pairing, right? I guess I don't really know.
Yeah, I probably would. Yandel has, outside of power play, he's been bad. So, but that hasn't been anything new. So Yandel, Gudas is probably the third pair, but it's half of one, 6 of another. So
yeah. I don't think the slate's being decided between Gudas and Forsling. So probably already spent too much time on that. Blue Jackets are just kind of a mess for DFS. They're constantly switching lines around. It looks like they've got one line that maybe they stick with, but if they get down 2-0, this is not a team where you feel comfortable with them sticking with their lines. So you just got to be aware of that when you're playing Columbus, especially when they're looks like both of their top lines are going to have some ownership. So I'm going to try to steer clear, or when I do play some of them in MME, just get some weird combos and just kind of moving on from there, because I love Bjorkstrand as a player and I love him for 3,800, but if he's going to be popular for a line that isn't great, I'll be under the field, I think, on CBJ1. Should we go to Winnipeg and Toronto? 2.6 implied total for the Jets, 3.5 for the Leafs. It is going to be Hellebuck and Freddie Anderson. No changes on the Leafs. Still have their best line together. And by that, I mean the Mikheyev, Engvall, and Zach Hyman trio. Toronto 3-night is upon us. I'm actually kind of kidding, but not really. I actually do like that third line, but there's some better players, some better lines. And I guess we could put our hand in the dirt here. It looks like Matthews might be playing a different position on the power play. So what does that do for you here with them being pretty popular tonight?
It's kind of weird because normally I'm off the Jets completely just because they're awful 5-on-5. But since Paul Stastny has moved up to the left wing on Scheifele and Wheeler, in 53 minutes, they have a 55% Corsi for percentage, 3.73 expected goals for, 16 high danger chances, 4 per 60. And defensively, they've been way better. 1.64 expected goals against. Granted, this is a tough matchup. And with Thornton on that top line, as much as I bash on him consistently for being, a dinosaur, that line with Thornton on there is very good defensively. So I'm kind of stumped at what to do here. I agree with you. I don't think Matthews is 100%, which is weird that they're just going to play him with a wrist injury when they're, having a great season. You figured they'd sit him out. Maybe it's one of those injuries that's just pain management, but it doesn't kind of make sense that they're going to take him out of their best spot on the power play and then put him in a different spot and then me want to jam him in at 9,200. It just kind of gives me trepidation because the wrist is the most important part of your shot, right? Yeah. So for me, I'm going to be underweight on this Leafs top line. If you want to play them, perfectly fine. I'm just I am nervous about that injury and Matthews' price. The line as a whole is expensive. I don't like playing Thornton as it is, and now he's over 4,000. So this is a tough sell for me. But if you want to play him, I won't tell you not to. And then on the Jets side with Stastny up there at 3,800, they fully correlate on power play 1. and their numbers have been great, but like the Matthews line has been very good defensively. So I'm not really sure what to do with Winnipeg 1. I think I'd get to them in MME. I kind of like this second line because they're going to get lower ownership than Winnipeg 1. You don't get, power play correlation. Connor's on the top power play, but then you get Pierre-Luc Dubois and Ehlers on power play 2. They're going to get to Tavares matchup, which hasn't been, anything to ride home about this season. Like you can even argue that Tavares has been subpar this season. So I don't mind a little bit of Winnipeg too, but at the initial thought when I first saw this game, I'm going to be heavy on both sides. But now, like as the day's gone on and the more I've dove into it, I think I'm going to be underweight on this game, to be honest. I do like that Toronto third line because the Jets, the Jets' depth is bad. Their penalty kill is bad. Not that the third line sees power play time, but Hyman and Mikheyev, they're going to see at best the Lowry, Kopp, Appleton line, which hasn't been great. So I think if you need a cheap filler, you get power play 2 with Hyman, but I think you can get to there in MME for sure.
Yeah, while you were talking, I was looking at since the Jets put this line together, the Stastny, Scheifele, Wheeler combo, they played 2 games against the Canucks, 2 games against the Canadiens. So like one team that's pretty bad at 5-on-5, one team that's pretty good. So I would say, it's not just a matchup based thing for them. I wish it was, because then I think I would just X out the Jets because like Scheifele's been, whoever he's played with, him and Wheeler have been so bad at 5-on-5, and they get there on the power play all the time. The empty nets, it feels like it's just whenever they're popular, just pencil in an empty net goal for Winnipeg 1. They're not that popular here. So if you believe in the numbers, and I do to some extent, 53-minute sample. I mean, we've got 4+ games right now of them with the sample. So it's not nothing. And if you think Matthews is hurt, maybe that's going to hurt them defensively, but that line's been stellar defensively so far this season. And then the way I'm treating Matthews is that basically he's fine, because I just can't imagine like playing hurt with a hand wrist injury and paying him like $13 million over the next, whatever, like 8-10 years.
Doesn't make sense.
It would just make no sense. So maybe it was some gamesmanship with the power play that they were showing at practice today. I have no idea, but I can't imagine like them playing him and then pulling him in the game. Like it would just look so bad for them. And like Toronto, like the market really cares about the Leafs. So every move is going to be scrutinized no matter what they do. Like I just can't imagine them being that dumb with the guy if he was seriously hurt. So I'm treating him like he's good to go. And I really like Toronto 1. Everyone likes Toronto 1. I like Toronto 2 as well. I'll say I definitely prefer the Toronto side. Like I said, I was kind of joking around about Toronto 3, but I think it's going to be one of my highest owned third lines. They don't get a lot of power play time, just Hyman secondary, but that line's been good at 5-on-5 going up against 2 and 3 for the Jets. We've had a couple games of the Jets being okay at even strength, and the rest of the season they've been just generally pretty bad. So I'm going with the bigger sample on the Jets overall. If you wanted to take some stabs at Jets 1, I don't have an issue with that. But I greatly prefer the Toronto side, the Toronto top 9 here. So I'll be having a bunch of them in MME. I think Toronto 1 is it is a priority for me in all stakes tonight. So Matthews, Marner, you can leave off Thornton if you'd like. Matthews, Marner, Tavares with the full power play with Morgan Riley, I think is another way to get a little bit different with your Toronto stacks. Anything else in this game?
If you're going to go to the blue line on the Jets, I prefer Pionk over Morrissey, despite it's kind of like the Nurse Berry situation. I mean, hold on. Morrissey's still on the top unit, right?
He is.
Yeah, so like if you want to put in Morrissey, if you're playing Jets 1, that's fine. I just prefer Pionk.
I like Pionk, especially as a one-off. Morrissey's not a guy I tend to one-off, so I think we're on the same page. Are there any cheap defensemen, any punt guys tonight that you like? I don't remember us talking about too many of them so far. I'm not seeing guys as I'm scrolling through this lineup builder here.
In this game?
Just overall.
Overall? Not really.
Alexiak, we got Alexiak coming up.
He's my darling, but like there might be some on the Red Wings that I'm not mentioning Mark Stahl, but there might be a couple coming forward.
All right. Well, we'll point them out, or in chat, feel free to shout out your favorite punt defenseman tonight, because it doesn't look very pretty below 3K, and it shouldn't because the dynamic pricing. But sometimes we get some darlings, and we'll have one coming up later. Lightning and the Red Wings, 3.4 implied total for the Lightning, 2.1 for the Wings. Vasilevsky and Jonathan Bernier are your projected starters. We don't have confirmation on those guys. Larkin expected to return for the Red Wings, and they're going to be pretty low owned. The Wings are one of those teams where if they score a bunch and it's Larkin and Mantha playing together, that's probably a good indication that those guys have very good games. They are pretty cheap as a trio with Robbie Fabry. I mean, you got any interest in some Detroit 1 tonight?
Maybe an MME. Like, I like playing the Red Wings. Don't get me wrong. This is just not the
2.1 total at home is like, yeah, I mean, that's all you need to know.
Yeah. Right? Like that's horrific. Like,
so bad.
That's the lowest total of the season besides the Devils Bruins the other night. I think the Devils had like a 1.9 or something ridiculous like that. But like, Larkin's coming back, so you assume he's going to see the top power play. He's going to be with Mantha. They're going to get the point Palat Cirelli line. But like the thing is, like, you see these Detroit lines, right? And they've had pretty good defensive numbers, but their possession numbers have not been very good. So they haven't been giving up much, but they haven't had the puck.
Yeah.
So you look at this Tampa, right? The Palat point Cirelli line. Cirelli is just wildly expensive. $6,200 for Anthony Cirelli is throwing me for a loop, but like, this line has been together 37 minutes. Their Corsi for is 46%, which isn't great. So I'm not sure if I want to play that line going against Larkin Mantha, like their only really decent line. So you go down to the second line, and they're probably going to get like the depth of the wing, like the Glendening, Ernie, Helm line, which is supposedly their best defensive line, but they only have a 48% Corsi for, and they're going against this Gord Stamkos Killorn line with a very small sample, but they have a 60% Corsi for. So if I'm going to go to a 5-on-5 line, it's going to be that second line. But for me, I want to get some power play exposure here. With Cirelli being so expensive at $6,200, I think if you go Palat point and then find the extra $1,300 to go up to Stamkos, or drop down the $1,200 and go to Killorn, I think you can do that. You can 5-man with Hedman. It does get pricey. But yeah, Tampa power play, Tampa 1. Not huge on Cirelli. I imagine if you put Cirelli in, that line's going to be pretty low owned as a trio. You can mix and match on the power play. Hedman, I really like. He is pricey at $7,000. I'm definitely going to be underweight on the Wings tonight. I think, Detroit 1's fine in MME, but other than that, I can't prioritize them at home with a 2 total.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I'm thinking about here with Detroit is like, okay, let's say they scored 3 goals here. I mean, pretty good chance that Larkin and Mantha have multi-point games and potentially get in on all 3 of those goals. So it's not that ridiculous of an outcome to imagine. They just have had trouble with generating offense. Maybe now that Larkin's got a little bit healthier, took a few games off. Maybe he's going to go back to being dominant at 5-on-5 with Mantha. I think that's a possibility here. It's not because of the matchup, though. Like, it's just if they do go off, it's just Larkin and Mantha being awesome players rather than it being a good matchup with Tampa. I think all these lines are going to be strong at 5-on-5. Coleman and Goudreau have been really strong at 5-on-5. The Gord line, not one you really want to go into. Certainly not the point line. So I like Tampa power play here. It looks like the point Palat line is going to get squeezed out just because of their price. When you've got point at almost $7K, not playing with Stamkos, you've got Cirelli up at $6,200, and then you're not getting a discount on Palat either, and he's not a great goal scorer. So maybe you get a low-owned point line, and it looks like the Yanni Gord, Killorn, and Stamkos trio is going to be a little bit more popular. But ownership in check on both sides here. I think I'm going to be over on Detroit 1, which isn't really saying that much. I think if I get to double digits on them, I wouldn't hate that, just playing 2 really talented guys. You can do what you want with Robbie Fabry. You could just go 2-man Larkin Mantha, or you could go Larkin Mantha Zadina if you wanted the power play here. But going into Vasilevsky, going into this Tampa juggernaut, I mean, you're just hoping that Larkin and Mantha can return to some of their old magic that they've had in years past. And so I don't have a problem banking on that. With the percentage of my lineups on the blue line here, not overly interested in anything. Hedman, 7K. He's priced appropriately, probably goes to either of the top 2 lines. So that's nice. And obviously with the power. All right. So Hedman, there we go. So we got the dog's barking for Hedman. All right. Well, got to give him a little thumbs up in FC now. So I'm sure the audience heard that one as well. They're going to be fired up hearing the appearance from the dog. One of the dogs, I should say. There's a handful of them back there. Anything else here?
Yeah, there's only 3. Eric Chernak, if you want to punt, 3,500 I think is decent. He has some pretty decent peripherals. I mean, on the Detroit side, like Christian Jew's top power play 2,900 is okay, but he's not someone I'm going to one-off. I'll correlate with Detroit 1 and MMA at that price for sure. But Sergachev, 5,400 is a little pricey for me. McDonough, the same deal, 4,900. So it's really Hedman or Chernak for me.
People are saying I'm drinking a screwdriver. It's iced coffee. That'd be a weird looking screwdriver. And then Clayton says that's Minnesota tap water. I mean, I don't know. We've got 10,000 lakes here. Like, we've got some pretty good water coming out of this tap. Pretty pure. So it's a little bit more clear than that, I would say. Hedman, mortal lock, Cliffy says, yeah. So just, be aware, guys. The dog's barked for Hedman. So there is your smash play of the night. Before we get to the last game of the slate, just want to make sure I mention Jock Market one more time. If you want to get a $50 deposit bonus when you go over there, they've got NHL, NBA, and PGA. $50 deposit bonus, Awesemo NHL 50. Very easy to remember. You watched on the NHL strategy show. You're watching Awesemo, so Awesemo NHL, and it's a $50 bonus, Awesemo NHL 50. See how that all works together? Pretty good stuff. Sound effects, again, gets me every single time. Blackhawks and the Dallas Stars, 2.5 implied total for the Hawks, 2.9 for the Stars. Malcolm Subban and Anton Khudobin. Cliffy said it was Chicago night. I mean, I wasn't really in agreement, but I'm looking and maybe it is Chicago night here, but I know you're going to like Dallas as well. So what's your favorite part of this game?
I think it's Dallas 1. Well, first of all, this is the only late game tonight, right? It's the only 8:30 Eastern game.
The late night hammer that starts an hour and a half after the slate.
No, but I've been complaining about the NHL about their staggered starts. Every time there's a staggered 7:30 start, it's always the Red Wings, and it just puts me to sleep. But anyway, this is the only late game, so I think Dallas 1's going to be popular. People love the late hammers, They just love the late hammers, and Ben Pavelski, Gurianov have been very good. Granted, 5-on-5, you don't play him for 5-on-5, you play him for the power play. But granted, like, this line has been pretty good in a 4-game sample. 66% Corsi for, 3.11 expected goals for, 20 high danger chances for per 60. It's a small sample, it'll probably even out eventually. But they're going to get the DeBrincat, Suter, Kane line, which is a pretty good line. They're about average, maybe a tiny bit below average defensively. But the thing about the Hawks is, like, earlier in the season, we're like, wow, they're actually better than we thought, and now they're kind of just regressing to the mean, right? Defensively, they haven't been great recently. So I don't mind going to this Dallas power play stack. The second line, Hintz, he should be in with Robertson and Kiviranta. If you want to do that, that's way cheaper than the top line. You don't get full power play 1 correlation, but they are a cheap way to get in Dallas in this game if you're going for a more expensive line. So, yeah, top line for Dallas, power play for Dallas, a little bit of that Dallas too. If I'm going to get to a line on the Blackhawks side, it's probably going to be the second line, and it doesn't really excite me. I mean, I do love Kubalik, but he's with Kampf and your boy Hagel. Again, like, every time I talk about the Hawks, like, if you want to get in some DeBrincat and Kane combos, you definitely can, because on the slate like this, they're going to be I would imagine lower owned than they should. Granted, like Dallas is like a sludge fest at 5-on-5, so it might be not the best play, but like there's 16-7 for the two of them. If you don't like Pia Suter for power play 2 at 4,800, you can put him in with Carl Soderberg, get a full power play correlation there at a little bit of a discount. I don't mind it, but for me, this is all about Dallas 1, a little bit of Dallas 2, Dallas power play. I do like Kubalik as a one-off and some DeBrincat Kane combos.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's things to like on both sides. As I was saying that, is Dallas going with Faxa, not with Cogliano and Como again? Because that, I mean,
I see Cogliano, Dickinson, Como.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. So like, I don't know, that maybe puts me on Chicago 1 a little bit. Like I'm pretty worried about the Faxa, Cogliano, Como line. They're, those guys aren't good for DFS, but they are very good.
I made a mistake. Yeah, that Dallas 1's going to go out against the depth. Yeah. The Dickinson line, probably, or if it is Faxa, they definitely go up against the top comp. With Dickinson, I imagine they still do, but it's not as dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Dallas usually pretty good on home ice. It's only a 2.5 implied total for the Hawks, but they're one of those teams where if they score 3-4 goals here, you can bet that Kane and DeBrincat are going to be involved in some way, whether that's a GPP performance, a GPP winning performance. It's hard to say, but I think they're pretty safe bets for points for most games. Yeah, I'm joining the Dallas 1 chalk in this late night hammer that starts when you'll know nothing. I love the late night hammers when it's like a 10:30 Eastern game. And I like the spot here.
Oh, we got 11 p.m. Eastern game. That's a really late hammer.
Yeah, I'm usually asleep by then, so I probably won't even make it till pregame skate. But I will be up for the majority of this slate. We'll see, hopefully sweating out the 100K or the 50K with all you guys in Slack. But I'll be on Dallas 1. I think pretty good chance that I end up with them as my highest owned line of the night, if not, somewhere second or 2 or 3. And I would say that I would maybe have some swaps in place for them because they're going to be popular, but the game's not late enough to really know where you're going to be at before this game actually starts. So I'll probably just end up with a bunch of them and let the chips fall where they may. And that's really all I love in this game. If Hintz plays, you're probably going to get a pretty low owned Hintz with Kiviranta and Jason Robertson stack. Or you could go with Hintz and Pavelski and Ben if you wanted to go for a power play 1. Chicago hasn't been terrible at they haven't been terrible at goal prevention so far this season, I will say. So give them credit where it's due. But I think this is a spot for Dallas, and Chicago is just more of an afterthought for me, I think, after looking more into this.
I mean, this is a spot I like defensemen too. Like Klingberg is back after having his baby. I mean, he didn't have the baby; his wife had a baby, but
that would be a story.
Yeah, that would be a story. Klingberg 4,800. He's cheaper than Heiskanen at 5,200. Yeah, go ahead. So if I'm going Dallas 1, Dallas power play, I think I'd go Klingberg. If I don't have any Dallas in this game and I want a one-off, it would be Heiskanen, and then I'm always partial to Jamie Alexiak at 3K. I also don't mind Esa Lindell at 4,100 if you can't get up to Klingberg or Heiskanen. It's not bad. And then on the Chicago side, Calvin DeHaan, 3,400. He's someone that I like playing as a shot blocker. So Connor Murphy's a little too expensive for me at 5,100. Nikita Zadorov, I like when he's under 3,000. So I like these Dallas defensemen. I like Calvin DeHaan and Adam Boqvist at 3,600, especially if you're using the Blackhawks.
Yeah, I think Connor Murphy's pretty cheap on FanDuel. He usually is really cheap over there. So take a look at his price, guy that blocks some shots, decent peripheral player, going to play probably around 20 minutes. Boqvist more of a power play 1 add-on with Chicago stacks. And then, Alexiak, I like Heiskanen as a one-off, as I do with Alexiak. Klingberg's cheap enough, but I think he's going to be very popular with Dallas 1 stack. So I'll probably only play him in those. And maybe he's one where you could get off of some of the more chalkier Dallas stacks and, just go to a similarly priced mid 4Ks guy instead of Klingberg. And that might be a way to differentiate some Dallas stacks. People are asking, like, specific questions. People just want the cliff notes of the show. So if you were MMEing tonight, who do you think would be one or two of your favorite stacks on tonight? And then feel free to give a hat trick play of the night. Those might go hand in hand.
So I'm looking. I think if I was MMEing, you always ask me the question right when we talk about it. But Dallas one I'd definitely be heavy on. I think some sort of Tampa power play I'd be heavy on, and then Washington power play I'd be heavy on as well. Hat trick play of the game or play of the night. I'm going to go with. Steven Stamkos.
All right. I was thinking about going to the same game, but on the other side. I'm not this big of a Detroit guy tonight, but I was thinking about Larkin. I don't know if he's going to play though. So, we'll go to someone else. I'll go to Marty Netchus. Maybe that'll actually force me to get in some Carolina.
I was thinking about Netchus.
Yeah. $5K for Netchus. I don't think he's going to be that popular. I don't think the stack's going to be that popular. We certainly don't have it, getting that much attention right now. So, Carolina 2, Marty Netchus. People calling for the Sam Gagner hat trick. We've already had one of those this season.
No. If that happens.
What was that?
I said if Sam Gagner goes for another hat trick tonight, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah, as long as Detroit Hatties, it better be Larkin or Mantha, because I don't think I'll have too much Gagner or Nemesnikov or Michael Rasmussen or
it's going to be Mark Stahl.
Matthias Brome.
You're not down for a Mark Stahl Hattie?
No, I will pass on that. Something weird's going to happen tonight. We got a $15 queue. We got 100K to first. We got a big contest on FanDuel. Jock Market's got some contests for you guys. Again, Awesemo NHL 50. Thank you for sponsoring our show. We're very excited about having them sponsor. There's going to be some weird stuff happening. We'll throw this up on podcast after we are done in the next 20 seconds or so. Anything else before we head out, Josh?
If you guys just have questions on this very important slate, join us in Slack chat. If you're not on there, DM us on Twitter. We'll get you a nice plan starting at $3.99. Look at that.
$3.95. Those extra 4 cents.
I'll even give you the 4 cents.
Yeah. I'll Venmo you the 4 cents or Cash App, whichever the kids are using these days. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We will be back to normal schedule tomorrow. It'll be Josh and Cliffy breaking it down. Good luck tonight. Someone please take down the 100K. Let's all run like Hoff tonight.